The author of the book I mentioned a little while ago touches upon this. In the light of whatever empirical evidence we have, it would seem that the interval is variable. The evidence would seem to suggest, and perhaps it's at this point only suggestive, that we have in the world, or let's say connected with this world, an actually finite number of, let's say, souls, without quarrelling with that particular word, a finite number of souls. But in the early ages of history and prehistory, it would seem, on this hypothesis, that the number of human bodies available, produced, as a result of evolution, was strictly limited. So therefore, there were fewer human bodies than there were souls. Do you see what I mean? So at that stage, the interval, the length of time that you had to wait after dying from one human body before you could take on another human body was quite long, perhaps even thousands of years. But as the number of available, bodies, human bodies increased, the interval of waiting, as it were, became shorter and shorter, so that at present it is usually quite short. Empirical evidence would suggest weeks, months, years, but not really now longer, than that. The empirical evidence does seem to point in this direction, because if people are regressed and are under hypnosis, the longer they go back into history, it would seem that the longer they have to wait in between births. So it all does seem to fit in a rather interesting way. So perhaps that is the solution. That at least is an interesting hypothesis. But yes, the empirical evidence seems to point in some such direction. But again, read this little book for further information, and also he gives references to the literature of the subject. One can follow it up if one wishes. There's quite a lot of literature on these things.